So to the first question about Iman weakening day by day, how do we prevent it? Well, the reason why Iman weakens, and one thing we need to know about Iman is it is something that is, it goes up and down. And this is natural, that it's never going to stay completely constant. There's nothing completely constant, except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything else changes. Nothing, no state is stable and unchanging. But we want that our Iman be going in the upward direction, inshallah. Yes, we are going to have dips, but what we have to do if we feel like our Iman is going down, it's usually a consequence of slackening in dhikr. Exactly. That's the reason. And so what you'll have to look at is where exactly in your routine are you slacking in dhikr. So remember, this was the advice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Musa alayhi salam. So we know that it's good advice. We know that there's very deep meaning in it. When he says, وَلَا تَنِيَ فِي ذِكْرِ, he's telling him and warning him not to slacken even. Not just don't remember me, don't even slacken in it. Because he won't be okay. He has, he knows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that Musa alayhi salam has this job, right? Has this mission. We all have a job, and we are not going to be okay unless we refrain from slacking in dhikr. So we have to look at in our life, where are we slacking in dhikr? First place you need to look is in your salah. Absolute first place is in your salah, the 5 daily obligatory prayers. And someone else made this point, and it's a very good point, that it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala noticed that when Allah gave us the commandment for salah, He gave us the commandment to pray throughout the day. When we were told to pray 5 times a day, it was at specified times, and those specified times are not all right before we sleep or right when we wake up, but rather all throughout the day. What's the purpose of that? Well, one of the reasons is that makes us continuously be remembering Allah throughout the day. That we never have a period of time that's too long where we are not remembering Allah, because it's kind of like, you don't take 500 breaths really, really quick and then go, 3 minutes with no breaths, because then you wouldn't get enough oxygen, right? And so the idea here is that the air needs to be equally divided throughout the day. The breaths, right? When we're breathing, we need to have a steady amount of air coming into our lungs in order to live. We can't all just take them all at one time and then go a while without it. Otherwise we suffocate and die, right? And that's the same thing that happens to the heart. Exactly. That it has to be continuous, and it has to be all the time, spaced out, constant, in order for the heart to stay alive. So I would say that if you feel your Iman going down, you need to look at where is your dhikr slackening. And that's the reason, because that's the reason that your Iman is going down. That's the reason for your problem. So if you look at your salah and your salah is in order, you're praying and you're praying on time, and that's extremely important that it has to be on time as well, the 5 daily prayers. If that isn't happening, then you know right away where your problem starts. That's where you have to start to solve the problem. If you have that, then you look at, okay, well, where else am I maybe slacking in my dhikr? Perhaps maybe you're not reading Quran regularly, or perhaps you're not remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the day and other times, either through the, azkar. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the example of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you pick up a dua book, like Fortress of a Muslim, Hisn Muslim, or Ma'thurat, or any of these compilations, you'll find there's a dua for almost every movement that you make. There's a reason for that, right? I mean, this isn't just for no reason. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was remembering Allah at every moment. I mean, really, it coming down to everything. I mean, even intimacy, even eating, even drinking, even walking out of the house, coming into the house, wearing new clothes, getting into your car, starting to drive, everything, every moment, every motion, when you're, even motions of the heart, even movements of the inner state, like when you're afraid, or when you're sad, or when you're pleased, or when you're not sure and you pray istikhara. I mean, there's always a dua for everything. I mean, we have to reflect about this. The reason for this is because this is really how we're supposed to be living. It's kind of like you buy a brand new car and you just really, really want to take care of it, right? you could be one of those people like myself who doesn't really like pay attention to when you're supposed to do an oil change and all that kind of stuff, right? Or you can do that, or when you're supposed. Okay, one time I was driving and I'm on the highway and all of a sudden the car just like it won't accelerate anymore, and it just like it's decelerating, if that's allowed to say, if that's a word. I think my physics teacher didn't let us use that word, but basically it was just like stopping. I mean, it wouldn't accelerate anymore. And what ended up happening, the reason this happened to my car, is because the timing belt broke. And apparently you're supposed to change the timing belt at a certain number of miles, and I didn't know this. So the timing belt broke and it destroyed the engine. So the idea here is that there is a certain way to take care of the car if you want it to run properly, and you have to keep up with it, right? Or you can be one of those people who slackens in taking care of the car, but then there's consequences. I mean, that's the point. And again, sometimes these things might be optional, but at the same time, if you want to take care of that car and you don't want the car to break down, you need to be doing that. And the more that you're up with the maintenance of that car, the more you take care of that car, the better it's going to run, and the less likely it is to break down when you really need it, right? So this is the same thing with our inner state, with our hearts, is that, if you really, I mean, we have these du'as, we have these supplications for the morning, for the evening, for after salah, for like every motion that you do when when you get married, when everything. And so if you really want your heart and your soul to be in like top condition working, you need to use these things. You need to do these things. You need to use these adhkar. They're there for a reason.